Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Jeff, the guy from Redmond, or Jeff T.G.F.R. Let's talk about a few things that I wanted to bring up, and that is systemic racism and white supremacy. And what can we do to defeat systemic racism and white supremacy? Well, first of all, we have to look at what systemic racism is. And first, we have to look at what systemic means. So what I've done is I'm going to basically go minimize my page here, and I'm going to go to my Webster's dictionary page, and I'm going to look up the word systemic so that we all know what it means. So hold on a second here. So here I am, and I'm going to pull up the video. I'm going to type in the word systemic, S-U-S-T-E-M-I, systemic. Systemic. Okay, this is an adjective, and it means relating to a system, especially as opposed to a particular part. The disease is localized rather than a systemic. So systemic means related to a system, especially as opposed to a particular part. So systemic, basically, when they say systemic racism, they're talking about the entire system of the United States being, racist. The Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, is racist. Why would you say that? Well, if you've read the Bill of Rights, if you've read the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, where these things come from, not one of them mentions anything about racism or slavery or anything else for that matter. And what really irks my opinion is the fact that they keep bringing this up, systemic racism, like this is a problem. There's nothing in the Constitution that deals with racism, or it basically says racism. No, the Constitution was written ahead of its time. And to be honest with you, it really did not get its full fulfillment in the freedom of all human beings on the planet until after the Civil War in about 1870, when the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution were added. So it was about 1870. And it was in April of 1865 that the Civil War ended. And the last slave to be free was done in, I believe, was in June of 1865 in Texas. That was when all the slaves of the southern states were freed. Was June of 1865. They finally got every single, the government went in and said it's illegal to own slaves, and told them to, give up their slaves. They had no choice. People need to understand that. And so is the system, our government that we've created, is that a racist system? And I would have to say, no, it's not. But what is racist is that certain politicians basically used the system to promote their own personal agenda. And those people were racist because they turned around and they used their power in government to promote things like the Ku Klux Klan, for one thing, the American Nazi Party, the skinheads, and now we have Black Lives Matter and Antifa, which are basically cut from the same cloth. Okay, so this is what's going on right now, folks. And the fact of the matter is, they're trying to blame the news media and everybody else is trying to blame Donald Trump for this when we all know that this is coming from the left. It's coming from the Democrats. This is who these people are. They're, and the misinformation that's being pushed out by the news media today on this is tremendous. And what they're trying to do now, they're trying to basically get everybody to vote by mail to disenfranchise the voting process. You see what's happening now? I would never, ever, ever vote by mail. I'll vote by absentee ballot, but I'd rather vote in person. November the 3rd, go to the polls and vote. Especially if you're a Trump voter, go to the polls and vote for Trump. Don't try voting by mail. Don't try voting absentee. If you can get up and walk across the room, you can get in your car or you can get on the bus, take it over to your polling place on election day and vote for Donald Trump. And I'm going to say that, yes, I am a Trump supporter. I will be voting for Donald Trump because he's done more for this country in 4 years, and almost 4 years, than politicians in the last 40 years have done. And he's tried to make this country a better place to live for everybody, not just for white people, but for black people, red people, and yellow people. And I'm not going to say black people. I'm going to say brown people, because people who are African American or people who have the dark brown skin, it is brown skin, not black skin. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Now, if you want to call me a racist for pointing that out, that's fine. Go ahead, point that out. Call me a racist. I don't care, because I want to live in a country where we don't have to look and call each other names, that we can respect each other and give each other the courtesy that God wants us to give each other, because we are all his children. And that's what it boils down to. So the thing is, does it make me mad when I see people call me racist and stuff like that? Yes, I do. But they're small people. There's nothing I can do about it. And if they want to call me a racist, fine. Let them call me a racist. Let them call you a racist, because they're idiots. They're stupid. And just like when Larry Elder basically proves a point, and he's talking to someone who's happens to be brown skinned like him, and then the person turns around and calls him an Uncle Tom. And I'm like going, I look at this and I say, well, it's the same thing. And it's like, you've got racism. Racism comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. You can be brown skinned and be a racist. You can be yellow skinned to be a racist. You can be red skinned to be a racist. You can be white skinned to be a racist. So really, to tell you the truth, it's not the system that's racist. It's the people in the system that are the problem. And until you get those people out of the system, but they have built so many protections into the system that basically that's why the system seems to be systemic with racism, when it's not. Never was supposed to be systemic with racism. Was slavery allowed? Yes, of course it was. And why do you think it was allowed? Because they could never have gotten the Constitution ratified if they didn't allow the South to keep the slaves. That's the reason why it was done. That's why the country could not be formed. Now, if you want to call that the Constitution is racist when it's not a racist, that's your business. But then it shows me how ignorant you really are. I've always asked people, I said, well, where is the systemic part of racism that you're talking about? And then they said, well, it's that white superiority or white privilege. And I said, look, if I do something that is suspicious or something like that, if I walk into a store and I start behaving suspiciously, don't you think a store detective is going to follow me around to see what I am up to? I mean, come on, it's that stupid. Stop trying to basically call notice to yourself. Go in there, go to a store, go in there, buy what you're going to buy and leave. I mean, geez, And if you are going to go and shoplift or whatever, good luck, and I hope you don't get caught. But you're going to get caught because you're on camera when you walk into a store now. And on top of that, basically, if the store is smart enough, they got a store detective that's usually a police officer, uh, that is there, and they do lots of things. So you have to understand one thing, and that is when people steal and when people do things, you know, that is wrong, then this hurts us all. You know, when you steal from a store, well, they turn around, they call their insurance company for the loss of the theft or whatever it might be, whether it's money or whether it's valuables out of the store, and then the insurance company reimburses them. Then what the insurance company done? Then the insurance company, because they have formed a risk, now increases their insurance rates, which means the prices in the store have to go up to compensate the store owner from for the increased insurance rates. So, I mean, it might be as much as a nickel or a dime, but this is what happens when you think you're just getting over on somebody. The only thing you're getting over on is everybody else. And no offense, but let's talk about another thing, and that is called white privilege. Okay, so I've got white privilege. The thing is the fact that I could guarantee you if I had dark red, if I had red skin, say I was an American Indian, or I was black, or I'm sorry, I was brown, or or I had yellow skin, and I behaved the same ways I did as I was, as being a white person and stuff like that. I would have just turned around and I would have turned around and I would have been treated accordingly and stuff like that. I got pulled over once, they didn't even give me a ticket. So was that white privilege? No, I don't think so. I think it was just, you know, I, um, I basically had a run in with somebody that was law enforcement. I didn't know it was law enforcement at the time. And so he decided to call the local jurisdictional police department after getting my license plate. And then turning around and having me pulled over by the police. And I was waiting to get a ticket, you know, for passing somebody. But unfortunately, the jurisdiction in that police department turned around and told me, you know, so I said, basically, I'm getting slapped on the hand, right? And he goes, pretty much, yeah. I said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I won't do that from now on." So, but, um, but anyways, people just need to understand that sometimes you have um, things to do, and you can't always basically do everything exactly the way someone else wants you to do things. Sometimes you're going to step outside the law a little bit or step outside the lines a little bit, and a policeman's going to be there, and you've got to be cordial. Okay, so it's an inconvenience, big deal, but that's what you get for breaking the law. You know, got pulled over a bunch of times. I've talked my way out of getting a ticket. Just be straight with a cop. I mean, that's all there is to it. You just, and if he gives you a ticket, take the ticket. And if you feel you've been wronged, then turn around and show up in court and fight it. That's what you do. I mean, you know, granted, I've been to court where I've had a judge basically turn around and say that I was 98, no, 99% of what I told him was true. And and I've had other judges basically say, well, you've had a good testimony here, but you're still going to pay the fine. Nothing you can do about that. You're just going to pay the fine. That's that. And boom, move on. So that's what's going on. So Anyways, as far as white privilege goes, because this thing with white privilege, if I step outside the line or I step outside the law, in a minor infraction or any type of infraction, that matter, I'm going to be treated accordingly. If I go into a bank with a gun and I go hold up the bank and get money out of it, going, who do you think is going to be after me besides local police department? State police department's going to be after me. The FBI is going to be after me. The Treasury Department's going to be after me because they're all FDIC insured. All banks are FDIC insured. So, I mean, where's the privilege? There is no privilege. I mean, I'm on the run. I'm a criminal. So I've got to change my identity and everything else like that to basically hide from the police. And the thing is, eventually they will catch me. It's a fact of life. So you have to understand those things. And, sometimes it hurts. And sometimes you have to look at yourself and claim responsibility for yourself. That's not being white or black or red or yellow. That's just being a person and being responsible as a human being in society. That's all I think what people want. And I think for the most part, I think most people are like this. It doesn't matter what their skin color is, but you just have a few that just step outside the line. They want to step outside the line. They don't want to take responsibility for their actions. And then they want to turn around here and hide behind racism. And I don't like that. And I think that's wrong for you to do that because, number one, all these race baiters and race hustlers, most of these incidents that claimed were a white police officer, gunned down a black person and stuff like that, turned around, and we find out later, we realize that the cop was totally justified in doing what he did. You may not like it, but that's the way it is. They're not, police officers don't have the luxury of turning around and letting somebody go to arrest them later. If you're going to basically make trouble for the police and make it harder for them to arrest you, you could end up dying. They're not going to let you go so they can arrest you while you're at home. You are basically going to go and you're going to lose your life. And it doesn't matter what your skin color is, whether you're Caucasian, whether you're Negro, whether you're Mongoloid, whether you're red, you've got red skin. Doesn't matter. Has history justified what's going on with people who are American Indian? Yes. Have the American Indians been treated cruelly? Yes. Have they been? They were shoved on land, reservations where you couldn't live, let alone anything else. They were given cattle to live off of, which wasn't enough. Today their homes are, scattered throughout reservations and stuff like that. And it's not right, because even though their ancestors and ours fought and they lost, the thing is, because of that, it's about time that all of us work together to become one people and stop trying to basically use race to divide us. This is what the left wants. This is what they want to do, is divide us by race. Divide us by race, divide us by class, divide us by income, rich to poor, black to white, red to yellow. Everything is a polar opposite. Everything is this. We need to stop fighting amongst ourselves and come together as one people, just as the Constitution, as it's basically spelled out, e pluribus unum, out of many one. And that's what we need to be, out of many one. And it doesn't matter what our background is, where we hail from, what our heritage would be. We are Americans, And we need to make and create a great country. And as long as we allow people to dictate to us that there's systemic racism when there is none, the system is not racist. What's racist is the fact that you have people in the system, and those people are racist, and they need to be found out and pushed out of the system. And that's what needs to happen. Those are the people that need to be done. And I'll be honest with you, that is what the problem is. As far as the white privilege goes, you know, if I went into a community that was largely African American or brown skinned people, and and I was the only white guy, don't you think that the sheriff or the law enforcement would look hard at me? Don't you think they would like look me over and stuff like that? Hey, what's this Caucasian guy doing here? You know, and that sort of a deal. The thing is, the press, the Hollywood elite media wants to turn around here and like Caucasian person is a every Caucasian person is some type of racist that belongs to the Ku Klux Klan or the American Nazi Party, and that's not so. And we need to stop looking through us through our skin, through what our skin color says. And we need to be looking at ourselves for what we are in here. Judge us by the content of a character, not by the color of our skin. And the thing is, if you have a bad character, then you need to do something about it. It doesn't matter what your skin color is or what your character is. If you have a flawed character, then you need to do something about your flawed character. But don't stand around here and cry racist because when you step out of line and a cop goes to arrest you and then you fight over him and then you're dead or put in a hospital somewhere, after your confrontation with a police officer, that's a cheap shot. That's a cheap shot altogether. So that's a cheap shot. So I don't care about what you think about systemic racism. The system was never racist. It was never designed to be racist. It never had a racist bone in his body. What was racist was the fact that you had certain people, prominent people in a political party that were the racist and used the tools in government to put themselves and their ideas in power in government. And we need to push those people out. That's what needs to be done. We need to recognize what the Constitution was written for. It was written for the people of this country. It wasn't written for the rich or the powerful. It wasn't written for the billionaires. It wasn't written for them. It was wrote for each and every individual that's an American citizen in this country. That's what it was written for. It was also written to protect legal aliens that come here to live legally, and some of them will end up becoming American citizens as well. But it should not protect illegal aliens, people that come across the border illegally into this country. It should not protect those people. And here's the other thing about the America. America has a lot of rights where you have rights and stuff like that. The one thing as you being an illegal alien is you do not have a right to come here. There is no right to come here. That's exactly what it is. There is no single right to come here. Okay? So I'm going to touch on that too. There is no racism involved. It's just the fact that you're a foreigner and you do not belong here, and we didn't ask you to come here. You decided to come here and you came here illegally. That means you should be arrested. You should be fingerprinted, photographed, and deported. So anyways, my rant for the evening. So hopefully we went over systemic racism, white supremacy, and we went over white privilege tonight. So hopefully everything will be better. Anyways, God bless America. God bless our president. And God bless the people that support our president. So take care, you all, and have a good night. Bye-bye.